Sometimes the best stories in golf aren't found on tour. You'll find them at the back of the range. And here's your host, Ben Adelberg.
And once again, welcome to the Back of the Range. I am your host, Ben Adelberg. This is episode 203. Well, I am back from the Palmetto Amateur in Aiken, South Carolina. What a fantastic week. So impressed with Brad Crane, Eric Bosch, the tournament chairman. They run that tournament to perfection. Such a special place. Thankful to get the call to come up and cover that incredible tournament. I will be returning in 2022, so can't wait for that. You know how I always say to follow the Back of the Range on Instagram? Well, make sure that you're following Palmetto Amateur on Instagram as well. After I left Aiken, I had to stop by Ocean Forest Golf Club in Sea Island to see John Wade. We discussed the 2022 Jones Cup. I'll be back there as well next year. So some very exciting things are coming to the Jones Cup. I cannot let the cat out of the bag just yet, but it's going to be incredible. So lots of work being done here behind the scenes at the Back of the Range. Keep following on social media. Keep emailing your questions. Stay engaged. So if you missed the previous episode with Todd White, go back, take a listen, and remember that the mojo is most definitely real. So Todd went out to Omaha to play in the U.S. Senior Open and, of course, makes the cut. So that's 4 rounds of golf. He finishes up on a Sunday, flies back to South Carolina for the U.S. Amateur Qualifier in Camden. From a very reliable source, I found out that he slept in the airport Sunday night, woke up in the morning on Monday, grabbed a shower at the club, and shot 68. And then followed it up the next day with a 69. Yes, Todd White is going to Oakmont to play in the U.S. Amateur. Unbelievable. Some other great stories from the U.S. Amateur qualifiers. You know, there's so many of them. Former guest and friend of the podcast, Steve Carter, former president of the FSGA. He's returning to the U.S. Amateur. And then, of course, there's Sean Knapp, who lives right next to Oakmont, a former U.S. Senior Amateur champion with, gosh, it's got to be in the high 50s, 57 USGA appearances by now. I can't keep track, neither can anyone else. But he's back. He is not going to be a spectator at the USAM. He will be in the field. Many more of these stories will be showcased as we lead into the U.S. Amateur at Oakmont next month. As quickly as I got back from my road trip to Merido and the Palmetto, I'm about to head out again for an even longer road trip, hitting 4 of the biggest amateur tournaments of the summer. First on my list of travels will be the U.S. Junior Amateur, held at the Country Club of North Carolina at Pinehurst. Believe it or not, this will be my first trip to Pinehurst, so very excited about that, and also my first U.S. Junior. I'm sure I'll see several players that I know from other events like the USAM and the Jones Cup, but truthfully, I wouldn't consider myself a junior golf insider. Thankfully, I know a guy that is, and he is my guest this week at the Back of the Range. Ryan Frazer started his own company called Agora Golf. Before I try to explain it to you, I'm just going to let Ryan handle that later in the episode. But what I can tell you is this. Ryan is a trusted resource for college golf coaches, and he also helps juniors and parents navigate the complicated waters of junior golf. So during this episode, we spoke about how he started Agora. He dropped some awesome information that everyone involved with junior golf should take to heart. And then finally, we spoke about a handful of the favorites that should be contending at the end of the U.S. Junior Amateur. The stroke play sessions have already started at Pinehurst, so let's get this episode started. Ryan, you're at the Back of the Range. How are you?
I'm doing great, Ben. Thanks for having me.
You got it, man. We are just days away from the U.S. Junior Amateur, and thought it'd be good to have you on the podcast to talk a little bit of junior golf. This is definitely your area of expertise. I'm a guest in your kitchen, so to speak, even though you're on my podcast. But you and I have bumped into each other at several tournaments over the last year or two. Thought it would be good to introduce you to my listeners, since a lot of them are passionate about, obviously amateur golf and junior golf. So let's kind of jump right in and talk a little bit about Agora Golf, which is your company, and I love the story of how this actually came to pass. So, before we talk about Agora, give me a little bit of background about how you actually got interested in the game of golf.
Well, I don't have like a playing background per se.
Just make something up. Just make something up, like fourth
Sure.
place in the in the Honolulu Open or something. I don't care. Make it up. It's fine.
Sure. Hey, well, I grew up in Roswell, Georgia. My parents, we lived in a country club. It was pretty nice, swim team, tennis, and about 2 weeks a year we play golf right before the LPGA's Michelob, or what was it called? The Lady Michelob was our LPGA event. So everyone in the neighborhood would get into golf for a couple weeks a year. This was back before they had good kid clubs. So I was terrible. But, I enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun, and I continued just kind of play recreationally throughout college and my adult life here.
No, all right, that sounds good. So you're kind of a casual golfer, but
right.
But you have this transition from a pretty standard professional life to now you're chasing some of the best juniors and amateurs all over the country. And I still, I'm not smart enough to really understand what it is you do and how you do it, because it's a lot of numbers and it's a lot of statistics and models and algorithms. And you're going to need to explain it to me again, even though I know you've already done this in the past. Explain it to me so that my listeners can get a better idea of what it is Agora Golf is.
That is a great question. I get it all the time. I still kind of really don't know what I'm doing.
Okay.
It's been 8 years. I've kind of got it to where, I'm making a living at it, a better living at it. But it's a slow process. So I got involved with junior golf through a passion with college golf. My alma mater was playing out in Colorado. I was living out in Denver, and they were playing in the Colorado Regional out there. And I met the coaches and players, and a lot of those players are now household names on the PGA Tour. And they were just super nice guys. So I kind of became just a fan of my school's, my college team, and their players.
And this is University of Georgia?
This is the Bulldogs. This is the University of Georgia.
Gotcha.
So it was Coach Hack and Coach Douglas, and that team had Russell Henley and Harris English and Hudson Swafford. TJ Mitchell was a freshman, and Bryden McPherson, who they called Google because he thought he knew everything. He was I think he was probably their fourth guy. Okay. But actually, I think he might have won the regional out there in Colorado or finished third, something like that. But they were super terrific guys. Kind of got to get to know them a little bit. The next couple of years, I was just a fan with them, and I would fly back to Athens each year they were hosting a Corn Ferry event, and I would volunteer, for the week and just kind of hang out and do whatever the Corn Ferry people wanted me to do as a volunteer. I think I was in scoring, but anyways. During a rain delay of the last one, I was just talking with Coach Hack and Coach Douglas about things, and they were we were talking about how I got involved. How they met me really was through a college football message board called Rivals 24/7 Sports. All those kind of things are all the same. So we were kind of talking, and I was like, maybe college golf needs something like that, in junior golf, because I had no idea what junior golf was about. So, but that's how the thought of kind of doing the way Rivals and 24/7 Sports cover college football and basketball. That was what my original intent was when I got involved. But like I said, I had no idea what junior golf was about. I signed up for U.S. Junior Credentials out in Truckee in 2013, and went out there. That was my first event. Scotty Scheffler beat Davis Riley in the finals. And that was the beginning of my education on junior golf, college golf recruiting, and how players eventually make it out onto tour. So it's been a very interesting ride in the last 8 years.
It sounds like it. So when you talk about creating something similar to Rivals 24/7, talk to me a little bit more about what that is. What have you created as a service and a value that really provides this invaluable information to whether it's parents of juniors or college coaches? What is it that you're providing?
Sure. I've come nowhere close to that goal. But as I went out and I started going to probably about 40 tournaments a year.
Oh my God.
Maybe more. I mean, it was kind of ridiculous. I definitely went through, I was a software, by the way, I was in a cubicle. I was a software developer by trade.
Okay.
And I was doing that part-time for a few years, supporting my habit of going to junior golf events.
You're a junkie.
And starting
That's awesome.
Yeah. And starting to learn the whole process. So, as I started doing more and more homework, it took me a couple of years to kind of figure out what, how to prepare myself for a tournament with, knowing the kids in the field and if they're committed or not, and their ranking information. So I started making these lists with all that information. And with my computer background, it was pretty quick and easy for me. And I realized these college coaches, they started looking at my list and they liked it. And I was like, oh, I bet I can sell this to them. And I was like, here's how I could finally make some money doing this.
Right.
So that's what I provide the coaches currently with, is just it's stuff that takes them hours to do a prep work. I can do much quicker. And I provide it for about 400 tournaments a year on the guys' side, another 400 on the girls' side. So I have both men's college coaches and women's college coaches are clients of mine, where I just basically do that very basic homework, but it saves them so much time. They're very appreciative, and it's been a great time. I mean, I love what I do.
Incredible that you're just basically aggregating that much data for that many kids, that many tournaments, and then obviously both, on the boys and girls side. So, if you can briefly, let's just assume I'm calling you from, the back of the range university, and I'm looking to find some kids for my golf team. And I pull up your list, I become one of your clients, and what kind of information am I going to get, on Johnny Golfer, one of the up and coming juniors, and nobody really knows much about him, but you do. So what's maybe some of the information that I would be able to obtain from you?
All the coaches really will see is their hometown graduation years, their world amateur golf ranking, if they have one, their junior golf scoreboard ranking, their class ranking, their Rolex AJGA ranking, their class ranking, and their golf week ranking, and their class ranking.
Okay.
The benefit though of knowing me, and so because I go to so many tournaments, I'm another set of eyes and ears out there. So I can overhear, I talk to parents all the time. So, I might know that a kid from out west is really looking to head east.
Gotcha.
They really want to play in the Southeast, because normally a coach in the Southeast might not look at a kid out west because there's so many states that they know they have to recruit against. So they're probably not going to waste a lot of time, but I'll be like, no, this kid really has interest. So I'm more word of mouth.
Okay.
I don't want to say a middleman, because I don't get paid for that portion. Like, I'm just there to help.
Right.
If I can let a parent know some information, I do. If I can let a coach know some information, I do. I try to get to know the kids as best as I can, because, coaches, more so than just the rankings, the rankings are a place to start. It's something to look at, but coaches really want to know, who is this kid that I potentially want to recruit? Is he a good kid? Does he treat his parents well? Does he thank the volunteers? How is he with the other competitors? Does he have friends? Is he well liked out there? Because it's players that they're going to be spending 4 years in a van with, and so they want good kids from good families.
Gotcha. So you're basically, sure, these are stats, and with the way technology is right now, a college coach can pretty much get on any website and determine, they can determine what finishes in their rankings, and you provide that as well. But they don't have someone boots on the ground that maybe see that a kid is out there working 3 hours on his putting after he shoots 75, or shows up late to a tournament and looks all disheveled, and you could tell that maybe he isn't or she isn't as serious about this. So you see the little things that don't show
Absolutely.
up, that don't show up on a website or a Wagger or anything.
Exactly. And that's why the coaches spend their whole summer following these kids around for that purpose. So I'm just kind of another person out there. There's that can do that, and I just pass, and I try to pass on the same information to each coach I see that might have interest in that potential player.
Right.
Because I don't, ultimately it's the kids have got to go. They got to make visits. They got to ask the right questions, and it's a hard decision whether you've got 20 schools after you, or if you just only have 2 or 3 offers. If maybe you only even have 1 offer. It's the recruiting game is very difficult, and especially here during this COVID pandemic.
Oh yeah.
That really has changed the world even more. It's very difficult.
Well,
spots are at a premium.
Yeah, and I bet these coaches are actually thrilled that they can go to the U.S. Junior this year and actually go see some players.
Absolutely. When June they got out of, as I like to call it, COVID jail on June 1st, and they have been everywhere all summer long. They're both them, their assistant coaches. They're just loving it. They love evaluating these kids. The rumors are back out there of all kinds of rumors are out there. It's an exciting world if you like golf and drama.
Well, no, okay. So you're talking about rumors, and I want to get into kind of what you've seen around the recruiting process, because there, like you said, rumors. There's misconceptions. There's things that the juniors think that they should be doing because they think that matters to a college coach. And then if you want to throw in parents to the mix, which,
Yep.
obviously
Yep.
there are some fantastic golf parents out there. And then there's some that, shall we say, there's room for improvement. Is that a very generous statement right there?
Definitely. And I don't know if I feel like all these kids that play competitive junior golf, and I go to, the invitationals. I go to a lot of the American Junior Golf Association runs the big tour. I mean, everyone kind of wants to matriculate to there because they know that's where the college coaches go,
Right.
which is true. And it's a super tour. But everyone feels like that's the route to get to. And they feel like once they make it there, they can just shoot low scores and get noticed. But the coaches are looking more than just your scores. They're, if they're looking at a small little, kid who hasn't hit his growth spurt yet, they're sizing up the parent to see like, okay, it looks like he's got some room to grow.
Right.
And again, they're looking hard at the parent-child relationship, because, kids are just always looking up at their parent after every shot for that, approval or disapproval.
Right.
That's kind of a red flag. If they're yelling at each other, that's a red flag. The best thing that parents can do, in my opinion, is, give your kid a nice hug at the start of the round, wish them luck, and then go for caddy and just, be a positive influence, remind them to eat or drink, that kind of stuff. But don't over parent so much. You don't have to put the push cart together, make the kid do some of the stuff so that the coach knows like your kid's going to be able to do that stuff on when he gets to campus. Otherwise, like the coach doesn't really want to put together 5 push carts and make lunches for every kid.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they're probably looking for kids that, obviously there's going to be things with their game that, course management and maybe tournament prep, different things like that, but I'm guessing they want kids that know how to, cook for themselves and do their own laundry and figure out how to iron shirt and not show up with everything needs to be done for them.
Absolutely. That is and there's a big difference I'm told from the women's coaches and the men's coaches on the preparedness of players.
Oh,
the girls do a much better job. Oh yeah, of course. The girls know how to do things. They're going to be on time and have the proper outfits and shoes or whatever the team has decided they're taking on a trip. The girls are much better prepared. There's a lot of guys that show up with the wrong, everything wrong.
Nice.
And it makes for some fun stories.
Yeah,
I
think I was at National. Well, of course I was at National. I saw you there. I was there. So I was at Nationals, and I can't remember the player's name. And when I say I can't remember the player's name, I absolutely can remember the player's name, and I know exactly which I'm not going to mention. But he showed up on that first tee, and his shirt was not ironed, and just it looked. I mean, it's a little thing, but it's also a very telling thing where, hey, you got to dress the part. You have to, dress for the role
Yeah.
you're trying to achieve. And yeah, he
Yep.
just kind of looked like he rolled out of bed and like, oh, we're playing golf today. Cool. I'll play.
Yep. And if you can shoot some really low scores, coaches will put up with that. They're okay with that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you got to be able to put some low numbers on the scorecard.
Yeah, but then you hang a 76 and they'll find anything that you did wrong. And if you just look like shit, then that's not a good thing.
Absolutely.
So, so we just talked a little bit about, what these, what's important to coaches, being self-reliant, a good family, good family relationship, and, just coming from a good family. What are some of these conversations that you have with parents? Not so much about what you say, but some of the things that they say to you that they think are so important that they are focusing on, that you say, hey, let's pump the brakes here. Let me kind of, I've been doing this for a while. Let me help you out. What's kind of maybe a couple topics that you've had to, address to kind of, switch a parent's mindset around?
Sure. Yeah. There's again, because I think the level of golf I watch, it's mainly players that, they think they want to definitely be a professional golfer, which is great. I think they should all try it. I'm always like, you can spend your whole 20s chasing it. I think there's plenty of times after your 20s to make some money. I'm all.
I mean, you could go for it. If it doesn't work out, you can be a podcaster, or you can be a software developer, right?
100%.
You can do those things. It's always there for you.
Yep, absolutely. Especially, learn to code. I mean, it's not that hard. If I can do it, anyone can do it. It's not hard. But I do feel that the parents or the players, they kind of focus on the wrong things in junior golf as far as, they get really caught up again in chasing those AJGA performance stars so they can get on that tour. And then they really chase their rankings. And then after they've kind of gone up the AJGA rankings some, then they find out about the world amateur golf rankings. And they're like, oh, that's how I get into these big amateur events. And they're always in a rush. And I feel like they're always like, I don't know if it's as much now. I think that PGA Tour used changing things on the college golf scene, but a lot of people I feel are thinking like they're going to go to college for 1 or 2 years and then turn pro.
Right.
And that formula really doesn't work. Especially on the men's side, guys, we just don't develop as quickly as girls. Girls mature quicker. They are more ready for the pressures of pro golf and that travel lifestyle and just everything that involves. Where guys, I do feel, 4 years of college is great. You're playing the best mini tour in golf on someone else's dime, hopefully, or you're hopefully it's not costing your parents too much because very few kids are playing on a full scholarship.
Right.
That's another misconception.
Exactly.
Especially on the men's side.
I'm glad you brought that up. We're going to put a pin in that. I'm going to come back to that later, so I don't want to cut you off. You go ahead.
Yeah. On the men's side, there's 4.5 scholarships. So even these top kids, there was a kid's father this earlier this year. He's like, hey, how many of these like top 10 players do you think are on a full ride? And I'm 1 or 2 maybe. I mean, most coaches don't. They just can't afford to be handing out large scholarships. There are some coaches that, they have a smaller lineup and, they do pretty much give out 4 really big scholarships and then kind of divide the rest up into that little half scholarship that's left.
Right.
But, most coaches are you're basically a half scholarship is a good offer, from anywhere. So I think parents, they don't understand the scholarship, the money portion of school. It's still probably going to cost you some money. So maybe don't chase your ranking and everything too much because school's going to cost some money, most likely.
Yeah. And the other thing too, that you're talking about here is it's almost like these kids, like I see a lot of these junior golfers that it just doesn't look like they're having any fun. And there seems to be all this pressure on, I got to play well because it's going to affect my ranking and I got to get into this tournament. And yeah, I see a lot of that. I'm sure you've seen, you've definitely seen a lot more than I have. And you're missing out on this part of golf that should be so much fun. I mean, junior golf should be an absolute blast. I don't care what tournament you're playing in, but they're chasing these points. They're chasing status. And like you said, you're going to end up paying for college anyway. And the other thing that I have said many times on this podcast, you want to go someplace where you can play. And not
Yeah.
everyone is going to be in the starting five at Oklahoma State or Stanford or, Ohio State. Pick the school. Like, you can go to a D2 school and have the time of your life and play in every tournament.
Absolutely. And you have other opportunities. If you're really dead set on going to Ohio State because you're from Ohio and your whole family goes there, you can go play on the club team. If your golf game's really not at that level, if you should be probably playing a D2 or D3, go to that big school and look into the club golf. Like that's a great opportunity to still play competitive golf. You're not going to play professionally, but it's something that you're going to take off into the business world, and every business seems to like a good golfer.
Right.
So there are other opportunities, and I think that's another aspect. Parents, they get caught up, and our players. I shouldn't say it's everyone in junior golf. They look at that big school name. They think like, well, that's obviously better because it's the big school.
Right.
And it's like, well, you might need a different coaching style. Maybe that big school is great, but that coach might provide your son or daughter the absolute worst experience because your son or daughter needs either more structure or less structure. Like just go play for one of those 5 spots on a college golf team, or you need a lot more practicing, whatever it might be. I think that it's often just the name associated with the school is getting a lot of players, and it's just like, well, that might not be the best option for you. And I think that's somewhere in the recruiting process, the parents don't get, they don't ask the right questions maybe to figure out what a real week is like at, a University of Texas.
Yeah.
Versus.
It's a great point. And then once the kid goes to that big school, and maybe the parents think that, maybe the parents think that, wow, Johnny should be in the starting 5. And they're no longer in the loop as much as they were when he was playing his junior golf, and now he's playing at a Texas or Stanford or Oklahoma State or basically any D1 school. If you're at any D1 school, the people on that team are the best in that state for a lot of times.
Yeah, I think once you leave junior golf, you're for the rest of your golfing career, you're trying to take someone's job. Whether it's in college, you're getting one of those 5 spots, and then when you turn pro, which I don't think these young players realize too, because they're all friends. They grow up in a junior golf environment where everybody's friends, coast to coast. Again, the AGGA does a great job of bringing kids together all over really the world.
Right.
And they develop great friendships, which is really cool. And that is awesome. But from a competitiveness, some of these kids might want to be a little bit tougher on the golf course, be friends, play ping pong after the round. But if you want to play professional golf, it's a hard life, and it's someone's job. You got to take someone's job, and then you got to fight off the younger players that come after you for that job, and the older guys. I mean, it's a different world than I think a lot of people envision when they just watch Saturday and Sunday from their couch. It looks like I'm sure it is a great life, but there's some pressures to it that are not seen. That
well, you gotta get to that part. I mean, we're talking during Open Week, and we're watching the best players in the world play Royal St. George's, and everything looks fantastic. But there's guys that right now they missed the cut at the Barbasol, names that everyone pretty much knows if you follow golf, and they just missed a cut at a opposite field event, and they're not getting paid this week. And
right,
exactly, their 3rd, 4th, 5th missed cut in a row, or perhaps they just barely got into this tournament as it is, and it could be their only PGA Tour stop of the year, and they just missed a cut, and they're wondering, okay, how am I going to support my family? That's all stuff down the line. But I'm curious. We're talking about the PGA Tour. We're talking about these guys making it. You've been doing this for 7, 8, 9 years. What's maybe the first interaction with a junior that you had that is now in the PGA Tour that's recognizable, that you actually got to know throughout the junior golf process and throughout college golf? Give me drop a little name for me.
Sure. The third tournament I ever went to was an AJGA event out in Oxnard, California, which is west of LA. It's up the coast a little bit and a couple hours kind of north and west of LA. And during the practice round, I roll up on some kids. I have no idea what I'm doing. And anyways, there was a freshman they were playing named Matthew Wolf. And he was very chatty. He had the funky swing. He didn't have that start that he has now that he developed maybe a couple years after I met him.
Okay.
But Matthew Wolf was, the third tournament I go to, I meet Matthew Wolf, and he's just this amazing kid. Like, he's everything that I like in a player, because he's really talkative. A lot of kids are very serious on the golf course, and that's fine. But I like the talkers, and he was a talker. He was very outgoing. He was just a fabulous kid with a great golf swing. He won that event. He was a kid that I just put in my mental bank. I was like, wow, I think this kid's really good. I don't know for sure, because I don't know what I'm doing.
Right.
But I'm like, I'm pretty sure that kid's really good. And I remember asking him, I was like, what schools are you interested in? And again, like, Alabama was coming off of back-to-back national championships, or maybe they're about to win their second one that spring. But I remember seeing an Alabama coach that summer, like, hey, like, in 2017, there's this kid, Matthew Wolf. He's going to be great, I think. And he's, Coach Sewell was just like, okay, and he got a couple good 17s, but Matthew went to Oklahoma State. He had a great junior career, but he did have a little bit of a slump. But he was in that AGG Invitational circuit, so he was always playing the big events. But he'll tell you, before the U.S. Junior of his senior year, after his senior year, he really kind of struggled. But he ended up finishing second to Noah Goodwin at the U.S. Junior, and from then on, he was just shot out of a cannon. His freshman year, he won maybe 3 times, maybe his freshman year, and he was freshman. He got the Mickelson Award as the freshman of the year. Sophomore year, he's gets the Player of the Year. All the Player of the Year honors. He was, and then he turns pro because they threw a lot of money at him. And he wins his third event out as a pro, or 6th event. I can't remember, but Matt Wolf, he'll go down as one of my all-time favorites. I love the kid. I wish him well. It's great seeing him have success. It's hard seeing him the last few months. Knowing that he's I guess struggling a little with being happy. But that's again part of the pro life.
Well, and exactly right. And I think I think cautionary tale is a little too strong of a term. He's going to be fine, but I think it further illustrates your point of, junior golf. They're all friends. They're playing golf together. They're competing, and then they're playing ping pong and having fun together. And then he goes to Oklahoma State. Great environment there. They're all together. He spends 2 years, and they're all working towards the goal of winning a national championship, which they do. And then all of a sudden, all that, basically, he's trading all that camaraderie and friendship in for a very lonely professional life where the media may love him, but all those guys out there, they don't give a damn because, as you said, he's coming after their jobs. Yep,
absolutely. And he's taken them. He's such a fabulous talent. And so, he's still, he's 22. So I remember being 22, and I like to go hang out a lot more with my friends than I did going to work from 9 to 5.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and his job has, I can't even imagine or fathom all of the requests of his time, because he is, probably the easiest thing that he could do is just go to the golf course and practice and work on his game and be left alone. But that that time, I'm guessing, was diminished quite a bit.
I would think so as well. But there's been a lot of players. I'm surprised how many guys are already out on tour that I was like, oh wow, I kind of watched either a lot of their junior career or their tail end, because again, I haven't been doing that long. But it's just been crazy to think. Norman Zhang was another kid in that 2017 class.
Yeah.
I met early, and boom, again, he went a half year early to Oregon, gets freshman of the year, gets player of the year. He gets a nice, signing bonus coming out early, and gets out there and is struggling, and he's still struggling. And it's unbelievable to me, because he's the best ball striker I've seen in the junior golf world. His ball made a different sound.
Wow.
8 years ago, or I guess I met him in 2014 at a little AJGA in where was I? Bend, Oregon, or Sun River, I guess. And he was just, unbelievable talent and great kid. So again, but he's just, he's 22, so he's still got plenty of time to get his game back and hopefully have some success again. But it's just crazy.
Yeah, I'm fascinated by it, just seeing these collegiate golfers, because I think I'm a little bit closer to the amateur side than the junior side. I'm starting to attend more junior tournaments. Obviously, we're going to be at the US Junior together at CCNC in Pinehurst. And but yeah, like people ask me a lot, like, well, who are these kids do you think are going to make it? Like, who do you think is the best that's destined for the PGA Tour? And I kind of give an answer that not a lot of people like. They want me to give a name, and I just kind of say, look, they all can do it. They all, I mean, all these guys that I follow, all these guys that I see at the USAMs and the the Jones Cup and Merido and Palmetto, all these players, they all can do it, but
100%.
But they have to shoot the scores at the precisely right time to get up the chain and get starts. And I don't know. And I'll tell you, I'm really excited about the future of amateur golf because of what PGA Tour U brings to the table.
I agree. Yeah, because I think that'll keep players in school longer. And again, I just think it helps them develop. It just helps them mature, and then they're just more prepared when they get out there. But I agree with you. I mean, it is very exciting, and you never know who's like. There's guys that I saw in either junior golf or especially in college golf that you're like, that guy is definitely going to make it. He is an absolute stud. And then they get out as a pro, and they struggle greatly, and it's it's not just having the talent; it is really having a desire to work hard at it. And especially if you're in your you're in your early 20s and you want to have these friendships, you want to hang out with your buddies, but at the same time you got to put the work in. And if for some guys it's hard to put that work in, and they struggle. But I think some of them, they do put the work in and they still struggle just because it's so hard. And there's so many great players out there, just like at the junior level. There's so many kids any given week. There's dozens of kids that could beat these kids that are going to the Cals and the Stanfords and the Texases and the Bamas and Floridas and stuff like that. But, it's hard to, it's just a hard game. I mean, it really is. Week in, week out, it's just, you're going to have your ups and your downs. For junior golf, I feel like you should be more concerned about developing your golf game, because nothing really in junior golf matters. Winning a U.S. Junior, that gets mentioned on TV on Saturday and Sunday. Maybe making a Junior Ryder Cup or Junior President's Cup or Junior Solheim Cup. Those are the things that get mentioned. But if you're not winning a USGA event or being on one of those Team America teams, your junior golf does not matter. It's just like your college golf almost doesn't get mentioned that much either. You win a lot in college, they'll tend to bring that up when you're a young player. But
right.
Once you're out on tour, you got to start winning out on tour to get talked about.
Right. I mean, a good college career, a good amateur career can definitely help you get exemptions and have some of the doors open for you. But as you said, it's not a long-term, it doesn't exactly matter as much. It's a nice, nice memories, nice experiences. Yeah. Obviously, getting to represent your country at any level, Junior Ryder Cup, President's Cup, Walker Cup, Curtis Cup, yeah. So, Ryan, I want to make sure we highlight and kind of spotlight the upcoming U.S. Junior Amateur at the Country Club of North Carolina at Pinehurst. As I stated previously, we're both going to be there. This is really your wheelhouse of junior golf, and actually, I did a little post on Instagram, and I said, hey, I'm doing a long trip back from Palmetto to South Florida. Ask me some questions, and I got some random questions, but one of them, and a lot of great questions, but one of them was, who are your favorites for the U.S. Junior? And I was like, man, how do I nail that down? I mean, there's so many big names that are going to be playing, but I don't know how to nail that down. So I'm going to turn it over to you. Have you do some of the heavy lifting for me. So tell me about some of the players. You've given me a list. I'm going to have you kind of expand on them quite a bit. But let's start with one of the players where has a big advantage because CCNC is his home course. Talk to me about Jackson Van Paris.
Jackson Van Paris, they call him JVP. He's heading to Vanderbilt this fall. He is, he's got to be the favorite just because it's his home course. He's an unbelievable scorer. People will ask me, what, they always ask me like, well, what makes that player good or that, this player good. And JVP, I can't pick one specific thing because he's just good at everything. But his best thing is that he just puts low scores on the scorecards. It's really incredible. He just finished, I think, second at the North-South Am. So he's got, he's got great match play experience. I mean, he is definitely going to be a tough to beat. Unfortunately for him, though, I think he has too many friends that he invites over. I mean, over the last couple of years, a lot of his buddies have come to visit him and play around. So he's not going to be the only one that has a lot of knowledge of the course, but he's definitely got the most knowledge for sure.
JVP is definitely on the list of favorites. No denying that. But another name that at least I know because, I was at the Terracotta earlier this year doing some work, and this guy won it. And then he also just picked up a win at the Western Junior. So 2 major tournaments. Talk to me about Caleb Surratt.
And actually just won a third big event because he just won this past week in Lexington, Kentucky. He won the PGA Boys. So he'll be representing U.S. on the Junior Ryder Cup this fall in Wisconsin. Nice. He's a 2022. He's going to Tennessee. He's a fabulous player. He's going to come in with a lot of confidence, riding high on those wins. And he'll definitely have a chance to prove himself this week and has a great opportunity to win.
Caleb is definitely on that list. Talk to me about the Ford brothers, Maxwell, David. Really, I think they want to beat each other more than they want to beat the field. I don't think that's any sort of a stretch. They are so competitive against each other. But David the lefty, Maxwell the righty. Talk to me about the Fords.
The Fords are great. I happen to live. I've moved from Denver. We talked earlier. To Athens, Georgia. So I've got to know them. They're just north of Atlanta in Peachtree Corners. When I first moved here, Maxwell probably had a little bit better junior career going. David had the ridiculous year of 2020. He won, it felt like everything. I mean, Kelly Chin got a couple wins in of the big invitationals, but David won everything else. And David's still lefty, going to North Carolina. He's had some injury issues this fall or this spring that's kept him out of a lot of events. So he could be a little rusty, although he did just play the Wyndham Cup. Him and his brother were part of Team East there, the AJGA's big Wyndham Cup thing. So they're going to be ready to go. And Maxwell's the righty going to Georgia. They both won the Invitational at Sedgefield. David won it last year. Right. Maxwell's brother won it this year. So they're both, they have the resume to do well. And oddly enough, though, this is the first time they've ever played a U.S. Junior. They never qualified. When the U.S. Junior switched to 18 holes from 36 back in 2017, a lot of really good players, have had problems getting through the qualifier because it's just so tough. So this is their first time making a U.S. Junior. They both played the U.S. Am, so they've got USGA experience. They also played the 4-ball, so they're ready to go.
And because Maxwell's going to Georgia and David's going to North Carolina, you obviously like Maxwell better than David.
Oh, not necessarily. Well, but I mean,
I'm just setting you up, man. I'm just messing with you.
I know. It's okay, but I will say David's the bigger talker, and as I mentioned earlier, I like talkers. They're both great. I mean, ultimately, it doesn't matter to me where these kids go. There are a lot of just great kids. I just want to see them do well, and it is fun. But yeah, I get a lot of coaches asking me about my allegiances towards Georgia, and so yeah, of course I pull from that.
That's got to be hard. That's got to be hard too, because these coaches are asking you what you think of these kids, and I can tell that you just have a passion for junior golf, and you want all of these kids to succeed no matter where they go. And
100%.
And the other thing too is that, look, if you see a kid and he's 15, 16, or she's 15 or 16, look, emotionally, they're going to have days where they're on tilt. They're going to shoot a bad score. They're going to 3-putt the last hole. They're going to slam a putter, kick their bag because they're kids. They're 15 years old.
Yeah.
They may play like seasoned professionals, but they're still kids. And, you see those things. And I mean, I bet that's something you actually have to remind parents and kids and coaches like, hey, they're not just numbers on a scorecard. These are kids. They're not emotionally, they're not emotionally ready for all this yet.
100%. And actually getting back to that recruiting process, I mean, coaches actually love, especially when they know that they kind of like a kid, like, all right, this kid's high on our board. We're probably going to offer them. They want you to play bad in front of them.
Right.
Because they want to see how you react. Because if it's, they understand a club toss or, I mean, they don't like to see it, but, everyone's kind of emotional and, that means you care. So that's good. But, if you're, cursing out a rules official, that's going to be bad.
Different. Yeah, that's different.
Yeah. But so they definitely want to see you struggle to see how you react and see what, they could maybe help you with. Because these coaches, they if you don't have a mental coach, and a lot of these, actually some of them do have mental coaches now, but they'll make sure that you're talking to someone in the industry that helps with that kind of stuff, because that's a huge part of golf. I feel is just being able to control your emotions. We were just talking about Caleb Surratt. I mean, he had a 5-stroke lead with 3 holes to play at the PGA Junior last week, and he ended up winning by 2, but it was close. And not that he reacted poorly, but he had some difficulties, I feel like, closing it out. Like, I mean,
right.
We almost couldn't find his ball on 18. Like it was almost like a nightmare. It was touch and go.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's a really, I mean, I'm so glad we stumbled upon this point of coaches want to see these kids having bad days and how they react to it, because that's got to be just a paralyzing feeling that a lot of these kids go through. Oh my God, there's a coach here looking at me. Oh my God, there's like 3 coaches over there standing behind the green waiting for me to hit this shot. And, and I'm standing over a 4-footer. And if I miss it, maybe they're not going to want me to go to their school. I mean, all this crap that runs through their heads. And
they put a lot of pressure on themselves that the coaches are okay with you missing that 4-footer. It's okay. It's golf. They've seen 4-footers missed all the time. But they're also there. They want to put a little pressure on you too, to see how you react. And, kids, that when they first get around it, they might not respond well on the scorecard, but as they get more used to it, sometimes then they're like, I want a gallery of coaches. Like, I want to impress them. Like, I'm going to hit some shots they've never seen.
Right.
Of course, the coaches have seen it all, but
of course
they think that they're going to prove like, wow, you're about to see something spectacular right here. And, maybe they pull it off, maybe they don't. It's okay either way.
One other name I want to ask you about, or actually, if you have any other names we should know about, I'll give you the floor. But talk to me about Gordon Sargent.
Gordon Sargent, another player heading to Vanderbilt this fall.
Man,
Vanderbilt's going to be loaded.
How did Limbaugh pull that off?
He's just a great recruiter. He's a great coach. I mean, kids want to go play for him, and it's a great school. I mean, it's in the SEC. It just means more in the SEC. So,
here we go. There, I knew you could resist.
No, but him and Gator Todd are doing a fantastic job. So Gordon Sargent, he's probably the best player in junior golf not to win a junior golf major. He's won the Alabama Amateur a couple times. He's won some big events, but he hasn't really pulled off, one of these AGG Invitationals yet, or a Western Junior, or Bobby Chapman. He's been runner up, I think, 2 or 3 times now. But he could break through right here before going to college. He's the player I think coaches most feel is going to, pop in this 2021 class. Like, he's probably the freshman I think a lot of coaches would be betting on. So he's got an opportunity to prove me wrong with the best player without. He's got an opportunity to get rid of the best player without a major.
Got it.
In junior golf.
Got it.
But he's fantastic. But there are a lot more names. I think I would be doing a disservice if I didn't just touch briefly on guys like Nick Dunlap's had a great summer. He's going to Alabama in 22. He's a fabulous player. He just tied for second at the PGA Junior. So did Ben James, another 22 going to Virginia. He'd have a chance. Kelly Chin's another Virginia player, but he's going to go to Duke this fall. He's definitely a player. Did we talk about Luke Potter?
Oh my gosh! How did we not talk? We can't have that happen. I mean, Luke Potter
Yeah.
is, for the first winner of the Merito Amateur.
Yep.
I mean, we got to talk about Luke.
Yeah, Luke, 54 holes the Merito Amateur was last year of stroke play, cutting down to 64 players. All the top college players are there because it's the Walker Cup year. And him and Preston Summerhays, the defending U.S. Junior champion, who's going to be 2 days too old to play this year. But yeah, the two of them in the finals last year at the Merito Amateur was exciting, and Luke came out on top. And so we know he's got the match play chops to win this thing, and he's got to be another big time favorite. The one thing I do wonder, he's played a lot of amateur events. In fact, he doesn't play many junior events. I don't know if he's played a junior event yet this year. And sometimes when kids go on to the amateur world, when they come back to a junior event, even something as prestigious as the U.S. Junior, they have a hard time finding that gear of competition again, because they feel like they've kind of moved on.
Right.
But Luke, I don't know if Luke's that player, because Luke hates second place. He only plays to win. So
yeah,
I look for him to have a great week in North Carolina this week.
Yeah, I would not be surprised to see him play really well. You're 100% right. The limited time that I've been around him, he's all business. He is just
he is.
Yeah, unless he relaxes with a Shirley Temple, which is his drink, and I have to,
Shirley Temple.
I got to throw that in there.
Yeah.
So
sure, yeah.
Well, Ryan, gosh, great information on tons of great information on the entire landscape of junior golf. I know that people listening that have a son or daughter that are heading that direction would find a lot of value in this, and I think they should follow you moving forward. So let's plug your company, where they can find you. I know you're big on Twitter, so where can people find Agora Golf online?
First, thank you, Ben. This was a pleasure to talk to you today. Twitter's where I'm most active. It's just at Agora Golf, which is also my Instagram name, but I rarely post over there. I'm trying to post more. I'll figure it out one of these days, and I'll post more over there. I do have a coach's product at agoragolf.com, and hopefully, I've been saying this though for a couple months now. I do want to offer a product to parents. I want to keep it reasonable. I'm not a recruiting service, but I feel like in the 8 years, I've learned a ton of information, and I want to share that probably in just some blog posts. But also have, I think some ideas on your playing calendar. What are the big events that coaches go to? Do you have to play the AJGA? Certainly not if it's not really viable for your area of the country, although the AJGA is all over the country. They're playing 7 tournaments a week here during the summers. It's pretty crazy, but there are a lot of great junior tours out there, in North Carolina in the Carolinas, you have the Carolina Golf Association, South Carolina Golf Association. They put on great events. Florida's got the Florida Junior Tour. Texas has the Legends Tour and the Texas Junior Tour. There's the Junior Golf Tour out in Arizona. I'm blanking on their name right now. The Toyota Tour Cup out in Texas. Junior Tour of Northern California, and here in the Southeast, there's the SJGT, the Southeast Junior Golf Tour, which Davis Thompson's dad runs. He came in second there in the PGA Tour U. So that, obviously that tour didn't hurt his development.
Yeah.
There are a lot of playing opportunities out there. On the girls' side, there's the Peggy Kirk Bell Junior Golf Tour. Coaches will find you at these smaller events, all your state, all your USGA events that you can go qualify for, go play, all that kind of stuff. I'll have that kind of information on my site for parents. Hopefully I'll have it up. I'll just go ahead and give myself more time and say I'll have it up by this fall. If I have it out sooner at agoragolf.com, I'll let you know all my tweets. So thank you, Ben.
Well, I will be seeing you in a couple days in North Carolina, so safe travels there. And, looking forward to watching this U.S. Junior, and I'm sure I'll see you at many, many tournaments down the road. But for now, Ryan, appreciate it. Thanks for stopping by the Back of the Range.
Thank you, Ben. It was a pleasure.
And there you have it. Special thanks to Ryan Fraser for joining me on this episode of The Back of the Range. Really looking forward to the U.S. Junior this week. Don't forget, follow along on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Every episode is available at thebackoftherange.com. And we'll see you next time here at The Back of the Range.